everyone, welcome back to Eternal Midnight. And so for our special November episode, end of November episode, we're doing The Shining versus Doctor Sleep. So we're joined today by Chad. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man?
Ken, how from the Rocky franchise. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing pretty good. And my best friend Dylan from Fandom, he's back. Dylan, how are you?
Good.
All right, so we're doing both The Shining versus Doctor Sleep. So Ken and Dylan love The Shining more. Chad and I love Doctor Sleep more. And so let's just start with you guys. I mean, like, what makes The Shining better in your opinion than Doctor Sleep?
Dylan, you want to go ahead and go first?
All right, sure. So, barring the iconic status of The Shining, it's just a scarier movie. It just makes for a better horror movie, whereas I see Doctor Sleep as more of a dark fantasy, almost like a superhero movie. I think by making everything about The Shining more physical and more definable, you kind of take away the mystery and aura behind it. Now, well, I'll get into more detail later. Basically, we know too much about The Shining. We know too much about the villains. That just makes for a less scary movie.
Yeah. Dylan, you took the words out of my mouth. I gotta say, for the credit I gotta give to Doctor Sleep, I think it's easier to identify and connect with those characters because the way Kubrick always shot movies and wrote scripts was very cold and very distant. You never really got very close to the characters. Mm-hmm. So I think Doctor Sleep does better there. But yeah, The Shining is just such a chilling story, and just the atmosphere that Kubrick's style of filmmaking really creates really chills me to the bone. I'm surprised he didn't make more horror movies. I think he should have. It would have been great. But it's just it resonates with me more on an emotional level for myself just because of the atmosphere it creates, and because, like Dylan said, like Doctor Sleep is more of a dark fantasy. The Shining is a true horror movie, and it just resonates with me better in that regard.
Fair enough. I don't know. For me, like, what makes Doctor Sleep more compelling is like the character himself. I mean, like, the main character. Danny Torrance is way better. Like, in my opinion, way better, far better than Jack Torrance, because Danny Torrance is like, where he's at, Doctor Sleep. We see him like struggling with alcoholism because of what happened in The Shining, like the effects still haunt him, and we see him dealing with the stress and post-traumatic stress of like what happened with his father, and his mom died. So, and he's seeing all these ghosts, like it's still haunting him, and he's basically dealing with all this trauma, and like he could easily go insane. But the way Ewan McGregor perfectly played like his like grasp to sanity, and basically finds Abra, this girl who can help him. It's perfect. And honestly, I don't the villain is what makes Doctor Sleep way more amazing than The Shining. Rose the Hat is the psycho of 2019. Sorry, Joker, Thanos. Nah, you're not. No.
She was pure evil, the epitome of evil. Some of the stuff she did in the movie.
Yes.
When she murdered that kid, and she was like, the kid was like, "Are you gonna hurt me?" And Rose was like, "Yes." So that smile was like, "Oh, dude." I was like, I cannot. And she was sadistic about it. Like she plugged like the knife into his stomach and like sucked out all that essence of him. Like, wow, that's cool. I don't know. I just feel like the villain, and that's why I like it more, is because the villain and Danny Torrance are way more compelling than the original Shining, which is not. I'm not against it. I just like how it was written more in Doctor Sleep. I don't know. How about you, Chad?
The hard part for me is these movies are both like they're two sides of the same coin almost. While they're both set in the same world, they're completely different genres.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Dylan said it. I mean, Doctor Sleep is a dark fantasy. It's not really a horror movie like at all, and I'm perfectly fine with that because it's almost like a Alien and Aliens type thing. We were able to get one story that was full on one genre and continuing on in this world. It wasn't a repeat of The Shining. It wasn't just the same thing again. It took this world that started very small, very isolated in the Overlook, in The Shining, and in Doctor Sleep, it expanded the world, and we saw a much larger version of what was out there. And like that, if I'd almost say Doctor Sleep never would have been necessary if Dick Halloran in The Shining had not said he had it also. If he had not had it and it was just something with Danny, then I would have said they're forcing things. But it's the fact that it was out there. They just never expanded on it until Doctor Sleep came out. And yes, Rose the Hat, terrifying, amazing. Snakebite Andy, very compelling character. Danny, Abra, all of these characters they all worked so well off each other, and both sides, and just everything that Danny was going through, following what happened, his evolution, capturing the ghosts and how he did it in his mind. I just felt like Doctor Sleep had more to offer, while The Shining was simpler, smaller, a horror film. Kubrick did an amazing job with it. But at the same time, Mike Flanagan did an incredible job with Doctor Sleep. So for me, it almost comes down to which one do I prefer watching? What mood am I in? And the Shining is Shining is one of those movies. Every time I watch it, I like it more and more. But
Same.
Doctor Sleep it stuck with me so much when I saw it in theaters. And it's just, I remember it's like, as soon as I heard when it was coming out on Blu-ray, it was just like, I was one of those people. I was at Walmart at midnight to grab a copy. I could watch it that night again. Because I just was like, I love this film.
So something I got to point out here that I'm picking up here, and I think all three of you will agree. I think what it's coming down to is, what do you want more out of the movie? In The Shining, it's definitely less is more. Whereas Doctor Sleep really expands on the world and explains how The Shining works, who has The Shining, and what are all the different powers that The Shining bestows upon the user.
And it's still, the funny thing is, it still feels like they've barely tapped into what The Shining is and what else is out there in this world. Because I think Rose even said it at the end when she was about to die to Danny, like, we're not the only ones out there. It's not just us. And it's like, and it's like, I almost would want another movie. Obviously, Danny's gone, so it would be Abra as the lead, which, if they can get the same girl, do it.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Abra was amazing. But at the same time, I almost want it to stop. If that makes sense. It's like, I want it to keep going, but I don't want them to ruin it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it would work if they detach it as much as possible from the Shining movie.
Agreed.
Because Doctor Sleep, it has its own identity, but it has all these like callbacks and Easter eggs to The Shining. So if they do like an Abra spinoff, just make it its own thing, you know?
Yeah,
very much.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Overlook already burned down in Doctor Sleep. So, like, what reference is there to go back to? I mean, like, the only tether back to The Shining and its story is Danny, who is a ghost now. So, yeah, that would be like the only thing there. And then I don't think
Ewan would come back just to be a ghost.
Yeah, I don't think he'll come back just to be a ghost. But I think it's more the ghosts in The Shining. I mean, like, I remember, like, Dylan came when it came out. Dylan texted me, like, the thing that you didn't like was, like, you know, like, at the end they go back to the Overlook and then all the ghosts come out with their signature phrases, Ready Player One style. I was like,
it's schlocky almost.
Yeah.
It did, but it was almost that, like, I get exactly what you're saying, because it's like seeing them seeing them all pop up and just like looking. It was just like, it was
doing all
cool.
the trademark lines.
Yeah, it felt campy kind of though, but it's like, but at the same time, like you said, if they chose to go forward, the Overlook's gone, and ghosts typically, I'm not a paranormal expert, ghosts typically haunt a location. So it's like with the Overlook gone, all those ghosts are gone now too. So it's like they really have closed the book on The Shining and Doctor Sleep for good.
I gotta say one of my favorite lines or one of my favorite moments from Doctor Sleep is when Rose the Hat has Danny pinned down and she says something along the lines of like, "Do you really think you can defeat me?" And he says, "No, but they can." And it's all the ghosts from The Shining appearing behind her.
Brutal death too.
Oh yeah.
Where have I heard that line from before? Is that from Thor Ragnarok or something?
Oh yeah, it is.
Fine, right?
It's more of like it was more of like something along the lines of like I see something in your mind. What are they? Are they some secrets? And then they're like, and then Danny says they're not secrets. They're starving. And then he opens the chest.
Okay. Maybe I was thinking of Thor Ragnarok. Maybe I mixed it up. My
Oh,
bad.
no. But yeah, I get what you mean because it was like I've seen Doctor Sleep enough times and I've seen The Shining enough times, but I wanted to rewatch The Shining before this. And exactly like you said, it was just a much more contained film. And once it was just Jack, Wendy, Danny, that's all we had to play with was just those three and what they were all going through. Whereas Doctor Sleep, it had so many other characters and so many other storylines that it could follow, branch off of. And The Shining just didn't have it, at which goes to show like how much more almost, I think the right word I'm going to say is more powerful the writing was because we only had three characters that only had each other to work off of.
Yeah, but now it's like, I think the reason why, to me at least, I like Doctor Sleep more is because when they expand the world, they go full on crazy. Like you can tell, like The Shining was a contained story about like this writer, Jack Torrance becoming an evil villain, and at the end, you see, oh, he's in the picture, so he was actually like there as a ghost the whole time. Could he have been a ghost, or did he return to his life? I don't know. But when Doctor Sleep comes around, no, there's an actual villain and an actual like psycho who wants to, like, that's why like I have my like top 10 sociopath movies. Doctor Sleep's on there because Rose the Hat is like a perfect sociopath. And I guess what when they expand the world, they go full on crazy. Like one of my favorite things that Chad and I will always like gush over is the fact that when Rose the Hat invades Abra's dream world and she's flying and she's like going to the houses and she's trying to invade them. Yeah, that was like a crazy scene. Like, and like she's looking to the files, and then like Abra, she's so powerful because like she's able to trap Rose's hand under the drawer, and like, oh, and then she's also feeling the pain in her body. I mean, like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Dylan, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I think you're in agreement with me, and correct me if I'm wrong. Genuinely, I think the reason I ultimately like The Shining more is because I went into it wanting a horror movie, and when I went into Doctor Sleep, I went in wanting a horror movie. Now, granted, I can't hold that against the movie. I have to appreciate the movie for what it is, and I do. It's a fantastic movie. Love both these films.
Yep.
But I think the reason I do enjoy The Shining more is because I go in wanting a scary movie, and that's what I got. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, totally. Doctor Sleep, I can see why you would like it better, why they would like it better, as like it's a more traditional story with like traditional character arcs, heroes, bad guys. Whereas The Shining's more like an out-of-body experience. It's sort of just, the story's very simple, but you just have the feeling that you're slowly descending into madness with Jack Torrance. Feelings of isolation and paranoia, I think, are better conveyed here than in any other movie, really.
And just there's and I know I'm supposed to be defending Doctor Sleep. It's just so hard to defend one more than the other because just like I said,
absolutely.
Movies, but it's like The Shining also had something that Doctor Sleep didn't have, and like Santino, like you said, the scenes with Rose, just they sell Doctor Sleep so well because she is just pure evil. She was the villain of the year. But at the same time, it's like Doctor Sleep also didn't have any scenes like the staircase scene where Jack is following Wendy up the stairs, and you can just see she's getting more and more terrified every step she takes backing up through that entire room. And it's just she's getting more frantic and terrified. And it's almost like you said in a horror movie. I mean, that's terrifying. Look at the way he was talking to her, looking at her, coming at her. Even when he could realize he was scaring her and he starts messing with her and she's screaming.
Yeah.
It was genius.
Yeah. As long as we're kicking into our own goal here, I'll go ahead and say, like Dylan said, with Dr. Sleep, it's definitely like I said before, Kubrick always struggled like really making those emotional connections with the characters, right? That was Stephen King's big complaint because, I think we all know, and many of the listeners probably know, he did not like Kubrick's The Shining. I've heard that he's warmed up to it, but overall he does, he doesn't like that one. He said it's cold, it's distant, and that was, as much as I love Kubrick's filmmaking artistically, story-wise, that's a big problem he had. And Mike Flanagan is just such a master with making you care about the characters. The Haunting of Hill House, oh my god, it's so damn good. And this is just another example for him there.
Have you seen it, Dylan? Haunting of Hill House?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
I was gonna say that I'm
check it out.
I guess neither Santino or I have seen it.
Both
I've
of you
read it too.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, it's funny you got The Shining. I was just saying that I actually did read Haunting of Hill House also. And there really is the power of Mike Flanagan. He is like really, really good at adaptations. And that's what made me appreciate Dr. Sleep more. Because I read the book, I read the first half of the book, then I watched the movie, then I read the second half of the book. I know that's weird, but it really made me appreciate how he knows to, what to bring into this movie, how much of the book he should adapt and how close he should stay to the Kubrick movie. Because the book, I won't get into details, but it gets weird, and it's way different from the movie in the second half.
I've heard The Shining deviates a lot from the material.
Yeah, well, and that's
They're fairly the same.
Yeah,
just the hotel and 3 people stuck. Only similarity.
Sorry, what was that?
The only similarity is just haunted hotel, 3 people stuck inside, and like that's it. The movie's just way different.
Well, because the movie basically changed it from more of a haunting to like almost half haunting, half psychological. And I know that's one of the big issues King had, wasn't it?
I would think so. I don't.
My understanding is, he didn't like. So, he really hated the way Wendy was portrayed because Wendy in the book apparently is a much stronger woman. She's, she can hold her own and like call out Jack when she needs to. Whereas, are you guys intimidated by Shelley Duvall? I'm not intimidated by Shelley Duvall.
I'm not, but that poor woman was so mentally broken by Kubrick. It's just almost disgusting.
I feel so bad for her. Do you know
never recovered?
Where she's at now is like a really sad place. If you look up where Shelley Duvall is at now, it's not good.
I mean, that was basically like, wasn't this like
the girl that Kubrick had to make her do like a take 217 times or something like that?
Around there, I think 127.
127.
Well, didn't he like? I could be wrong, but I heard didn't she like get sick or something because of just like how stressed out she was by how he made her feel and whatnot?
I think her hair.
Yes, I did hear that.
Falling
her hair
out.
started falling out.
Yeah.
It helped
There's
the
interviews
performance
with
though,
Kubrick
because
saying like, I do not sympathize with Shelley or something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But it's like
The dude was a dick. I mean, he's a genius.
He was an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, as awful as it sounds, it helped her performance though, because like that, like look at how genuinely scared she looks in the movie and just broken as a human being. It's like it's awful that it was at that poor woman's expense, but it's like it helps.
I mean, like, it's pretty authentic when you're actually stressed out in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also.
Okay, so you go first. What's up?
Sorry about that. I was about to say, it makes sense that Wendy in the movie is more like I don't want to say incompetent, but well, just more annoying in general.
Yeah.
Because the movie is about a guy lashing out against his family, whereas in the book's more about the dangers of addiction. It's more
Mhm.
about Jack succumbing to like his past family abuse, which is carried on with Doctor Sleep. In the Shining
Yeah.
movie, though, it's more about how just about anyone can be a psychopath when taken away
Yeah.
from civilization.
Well, that's actually something. I meant to talk about it. We went on this whole tangent about how bad we feel for Shelley Duvall. No, but no, yeah. So King didn't like a lot of Kubrick's decisions with the characters. So there was that with Wendy, but with Jack, and I can sort of see this. I'd like to get your guys' take on this. In the book, it's about Jack's descent into madness, as the atmosphere of the hotel sort of changes him from this loving family man to this guy who's going after killing his family. But King and a lot of people have said that's not how Jack Nicholson plays it. Jack Nicholson seems crazy from the beginning. Like, he's always been the caretaker. He's always been this crazy person.
The way Nicholson portrayed the character to me, he did not come across as a man who was like recovering from alcoholism and was like who felt bad about what he'd done.
Yeah.
He felt more like a man who, like, I only quit because my wife threatened to leave me.
And he resents them for it.
Yeah, and it's like I never got the feeling, and maybe it's just Nicholson's acting, but I never got the feeling from Nicholson that he was like a loving family man, not in the slightest.
Agreed.
It's all an act for him.
Mhm.
It's all just a mask.
I mean, like, personally, I kind of agree with you guys. I mean, like, he kind of felt like he was drunk from the beginning, and he was already a psycho. I mean, like, I have not read the book, so maybe it's different there. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
it is pretty different.
And to
It's like
spin
a
it,
tragedy of how anyone can, be a victim of their own addictions.
Mhm.
Whereas the movie, yeah, you just get a sense he's just a psychopath, just pretending to be normal from the very beginning.
and to spin it and defend Dr. Sleep, that's where I genuinely think Ewan playing Danny massively excelled. I thought Danny was
he outshines Nicholson there.
He was a far more interesting character to follow, I thought. Like, I loved watching him as a little kid, growing up as an alcoholic, seeing Dick Halloran's ghost and still making his own choices, becoming sober, living through it, his life of at the hospital, meeting Abra and helping her all the way to his death, facing his demons at the Overlook again. I thought Danny was a far more interesting character to follow.
Yeah, I mean, since we're like, we just finished with the Rocky movies, and we're talking about like, standing up against the human perseverance. I mean, like, Danny is like another symbol of human perseverance, because like, really, like, he was really like, imagine seeing all that stuff when you were like so young.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, I'm surprised he didn't like take heroin or something. That's a train spotting reference, if you don't know.
Oh,
He might have. I wouldn't have been shocked. I mean, he slept with the junkie that night.
I mean, like, I watched the movie recently because it was on HBO. I didn't see him take heroin, but I mean, like, I like, Danny's lifting himself out of the drugs and helping, not the drugs, sorry, the alcohol, and helping Abra like be a mentor. At first he doesn't want to do it, but like towards the end, like he's happy to do it, and I think it's just it's a nice bookend to like the series. I mean, like, it's like Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 or Halloween 1, Halloween 2. It's like perfect sequel, and I think in this case I'm more inclined to believe that the sequel was better than the original. I'm not saying that the original was bad. I'm saying, like, has way more compelling characters and a way better villain. I mean, like, I was disappointed for the fact that it wasn't a horror movie. It's more of a dark fantasy movie. But after giving a rewatch and seeing it in that angle, it's way better.
Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to, like I said before, what you want from the movie. Real quick, we've been saying the names Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson, but forever we've been saying the girl that plays Abra. I want to give her credit. I pulled her up here on IMDb. Kylie Curran.
Mm-hmm. I think this was
I
her.
want to see more.
Wasn't this her first movie?
I want to see her in more, dude.
Yeah, she is fantastic. But yeah, so I think it comes down to what you want from the movie, and The Shining, yeah, it's about giving yourself over to this world that Kubrick's created, and you're left with so many questions, and that sort of adds to the fear and the creepiness to the movie. It's like, well, what is The Shining? What's the extent of it? And just, I mean, the imagery in that movie is just so creepy. Whereas Doctor Sleep answers a lot of questions, and I think it comes back to the whole weird comparison, but Jaws. You don't show the monsters so much, and that makes it scarier. The less you know, the scarier it is for me, and that's why I like The Shining more.
I wouldn't even. And the weird thing is, because I've heard people say that also, but to me, I feel like Doctor Sleep. I feel like it didn't explain anything. We still don't know really what The Shining is. Is it like X-Men, where it's just this is human evolution, but then it's Rose the Hat and her crew have been around for
she's the Magneto,
thousands of years. Where are these? Who are these other? Where did it come from? Is it human evolution? Is it just random magic? How long has it been around? Why is it around? How many more people are out there? I feel that's what I was saying earlier. I feel like this barely scraped the top of this world that we saw. That, like I said, The Shining started out just one little story within this world, and Dr. Sleep helped expand it, but we still barely know anything.
I mean, like, what do you think, Dylan? You think The Shining was explained enough, or no?
That's actually one of my problems with Dr. Sleep. It's like The Shining is both explained too much and yet kept too vague. As far as we know, it's like a literal steam that lives inside of you, right? Which maybe Metachlorian's flashbacks, that it's mystical force. Yeah, it felt very Metachlorian-y. And yeah, again with the villains being shown. Sorry,
Dylan. Before you go on, I just want to ask: do you think that's attributed to King did that because he didn't know what else to do, or he just wanted to capitalize maybe on the success of The Shining and wanted to continue it? What do you think?
Well, it is book accurate. I don't really know. Stephen King has done sequels before. I think the capitalism might have some play in it because The Shining is one of his favorite books. It is one of his most famous books. But I wouldn't say neither the movie nor the book feel that cynical.
Okay.
They actually have a purpose, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting back to the villains being shown too much. We can only have so many scenes of them, bitching in the woods about how much steam they need. It got a bit redundant, I feel.
Yeah,
Agreed.
To be fair, yeah. I mean, like Rose the Hat is in the making, but we do get like some like too many scenes where they're like camping. They're not. Kind of gave me Deathly Hallows Part 1 flashbacks. Like, oh my god.
But at the same time, it, like we've said, Santino, it was Rose the Hat.
Yeah.
We loved this character, and it's like,
oh, she's great.
Imagine if it almost flip it around. I almost would want to see what was Rose the Hat doing for X amount of years without the story of Dr. Sleep. Yeah. That could have almost been a whole movie on its own.
Yeah, because like when that guy dies, the old guy dies, he's like, we feasted on kings. I was like, oh shit, so are you saying that we've been there since like what, Julius Caesar or some shit like that?
Yeah, that would have been. See, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like we barely touched the top of this world and what we've seen from it when it comes to these powers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I'm surprised Rebecca Ferguson had it in her because I always knew it's like she's the hot girl in the Mission Impossible Fallout and Rogue Nation, and now she's like one of the best villains ever.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I gotta say to praise Dr. Sleep, Chad, you were saying earlier how it doesn't have these really incredible shots that that The Shining had. But I gotta say, what it did to like recreate a lot of the shots, I really liked. Like when Danny is in the room meeting with, I think, a psychologist or with someone,
Well,
and it mirrors that shot of Jack meeting with the hotel manager,
Mm-hmm.
and with him backing up with the axe as Rose the Hat is walking up the stairs. Yeah, and just that shot panning over the lake.
Mm-hmm.
It really does a great job being a sequel both to the book and to the movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a hard balance to do when The Shining changed quite a bit from the book.
Mm-hmm. And Dylan, you could probably speak more to how well it does that.
yeah, totally. I think Flanagan kept a perfect balance. That's why I appreciated the movie more after reading the book, because it's like a two-way road, because Stephen King and Kubrick are kind of like polar opposites. Like you said, Kubrick's all about being cold and detached. Stephen King offers more relatable human dramas. He knew exactly what to keep and where to stray away from the book.
Yep.
I also, speaking of the callbacks, I also really appreciated the actress that got to play Wendy. Her name was Alex Esso,
Wow.
I think her name.
Yeah.
She's been in some other horror movies, one called Starry Eyes. She's a really good indie horror actress. And yeah, she played it to a T. The guy who played Dick Halloran was also great.
You know, it's real quick on that. That is another thing. I remember seeing it in theaters and seeing. I was like, in today's world, post Rogue One, you know, where we had CGI Tarkin, CGI Leia. I was like, I am so happy they did not do that. Just recast it. Keep it real. I don't want CGI Wendy.
Yeah.
I want an actual human being there portraying the character. And she did a good job, like you said.
And if we're bringing that, I like that scene with where before Danny faces Abra, before Danny faces Rose the Hat, where in the Overlook, and he's about to take a drink, and the bartender, like you could tell, it looks like supposed to be his father. And
Like
he's
Jack Nicholson, yeah.
Like Jack Nicholson, like they didn't CGI
Henry
Jack
Thomas from
It would have
Haunting
just
of Hill.
taken me out because CGI is so easy to spot with the human eye, and it would have made it so uncanny valley.
Yeah, I mean, like if we're bringing up Rogue One, I mean, like I kind of knew like when the CGI Leia was like, it's really weird.
Yeah.
You know, for Ready Player One, for The Shining.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
Oh, hold up. Say that all again. You're
the effect on him.
Yeah, sorry, Dylan, you dipped out for a moment there.
Okay. So Ready Player One, right? There's the Shining scene there. We see Jack from like the back view, right?
Mm-hmm.
They almost got Jack Nicholson to reprise his role. They would have just CGI'd him to be younger. Thankfully, he said no. Thank God.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, because I just watched Ready Player One the other day. I'm not gonna lie, I had so much fun with every scene with The Shining. It was a blast. Ken, you need to see it at some point.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh.
Or just watch the Shining part. Just watch the Shining part.
Okay.
Because
skip everything else.
we have argued on like Ready Player One's enjoyable. Like it's not. Like I don't want to get into it. But yeah.
But yeah. I'm glad that both the actor to play Wendy and to play Jack looked enough like Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson. I will say the kid that played young Danny did not look anything like young Danny, but you know, what are you going to do?
One of those things where it's like, I respected it because it was like they were making a sequel to a movie from the 80s, and they didn't have CGI in the 80s. And if an actor passed away or got too old or just didn't want to do it, they just recast you. And it felt like respect to the older movies by just doing that. Hey, you know, Man Crothers isn't around. We're not gonna take the man's memory and just put a CGI face of him on somebody else.
Yeah. And that guy looked enough like Scatman Crothers too.
He didn't exactly have the charisma Scatman Crothers had, but you know what? I was perfectly fine with it. I thought he did a great job as Danny's like ghost mentor.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. So it feels like we're almost wrapping up. Is there any? So we pretty much, I think, covered everything. Santino, is there any other big questions you've got? You want to throw out challenges versus?
Like, what do you mean, like in terms of like The Shining? I mean, like I or Doctor Sleep.
No. God, oh, great! I love editing. No, I just meant more like, did you have anything else like to throw out to us? Where like, hey, what did you like X element of one movie better than the other one or something?
I mean, like the one main question I would like to ask is, even though Doctor Sleep is not like this is two more of two three of you. Even though Doctor Sleep's not really a horror movie, did you find like a scary scene in Doctor Sleep that you liked, or no, or like, or was it just like not scary at all for you?
That scene, I'd say, is pretty disturbing.
What's that?
The death of the baseball boy, played by
Jacob
Jacob
Tremblay.
Tremblay. Yeah,
Very small
fantastic
role for
hit.
him.
Yeah, but it
I'm
worked.
surprised he was like
Just-
in there. 5 minutes.
I was shocked the first time I saw that in theaters. I was like, when is the last time I saw a kid get like butchered on screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, a very a moment that was scary for me, and just sort of a creepy scare that I got was towards it happens at the beginning and at the end when you see young Danny walk into the bathroom with the decaying old woman, and she just sort of stands up and like watches him as he walks in, and then he just shuts the door behind. And then at the end, when Abra does the exact same thing, that
Right.
creeps me out.
Yeah, I mean, like, fair enough, because like I think it was meant to be like they're gonna lock them in the cage again, the chest again. I think
Yeah.
that's what I meant. How about you? How about you, Chad? Any like scene that unnerved you or scared, or besides the death of the kid? You know?
Honestly, not really. And that's why when I first watched Doctor Sleep, it was like, unlike I think Ken and Dylan, I did not go into Doctor Sleep expecting a horror movie. I think because I wasn't getting really any horror vibes from the trailer. So I more went into Doctor Sleep almost like I don't know what I'm going to get. I was just like, but I like The Shining, and I want to see what more they have from this world to offer me. And I think that's why I loved it as much as I did, was because even though I saw the trailer, I'd still say I went in blind. Like I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna get. Just be good. And it was amazing.
More than good, yeah.
I'll give it this. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give it this. I did love how the movie ended. Can we talk spoilers here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Spoiler. Yeah, okay, because I did appreciate that the movie was actually more nihilistic than the book. Do you know in the book, like, none of our main characters die? Like, no one dies, not Danny, not his
Oh wow.
his friend, shotgun. No one dies.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
To touch on that, you know what? That shotgun scene when he blew his own head off,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like one of the saddest scenes of the movie. I'm like, no, I was like, this is one of the
He
nicest
was such a
guys
good
in the
character.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
kill yourself.
Kill
Oh,
himself. As Snakebite Andy is dying, she makes him kill himself. I'm like,
Oh.
you bitch.
Oh, that's a rough
Like
scene.
it was almost like I was almost wondering the whole movie with her. I was like, is there a way this girl can kind of redeem herself? And in her dying breath, I was like, bitch.
Right.
I was like, and also I was like, the scene that made me like really like so happy was when that boyfriend of Rose like kidnapped Abra, and then Danny possesses Abra. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
that line that Abra gives, like, arrogance. It's just really arrogance that, you know, in your immortal life it stands to reason we forget wearing a seatbelt, and then she just grabs the
Yep.
wheel and then smashes into the tree, and
Oh yeah.
and then you can Rose, like, I was so happy when Rose was screaming because her boyfriend was like, yes, and then because it was like Rose was like,
Oh.
Now,
Man.
Santino, did you get Voldemort vibes from that?
yeah.
Anytime someone she cared about was dying, she felt the pain from it, kind of like he did with the Horcrux.
Yeah, I got Voldemort. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
And like honestly, like, I wanted to ask, like, because I never really got it. I mean, this is more of a Shining question. What was up with the end? I mean, like Jack was in the picture and never got it. Was he a ghost? Was like what? Was he part of the
Oh.
hotel? I mean, like, this is more.
I don't think I'm not sure there's a definitive interpretation of that. My interpretation, though, goes that started the movie. You guys said it yourself that you felt that Jack was always crazy from the very beginning.
Hmm.
So I think in a way the picture it kind of shows him in the Overlook like way back. That kind of shows how the dude's been crazy since like way before. He's always been the Jack that we know from in the Overlook.
Yeah, he's always been the caretaker.
Yeah, that psychopath in him has been there like always.
Mm.
See, that's what I loved about that ending is it's so ambiguous because it's like the way you just described it, I never would have seen it that way. And it's like now that you've said it, now again it makes me want to rewatch it because it's like now I want to see the
when
whole
you've
movie
seen the movie
from
enough
that
times.
perspective.
You were saying
Yeah.
when you see the movie enough times, yeah, you pick up on that.
Yeah, if you watched it enough, you'll understand more.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
and you
what's
can
so
pick
great.
up a lot of different interpretations of it.
Right.
And I think that's another beauty of the ambiguous nature of the film.
Mhm.
Dude, there's a whole documentary about it. There's a documentary called Room 237 about a bunch of crazy fan conspiracy theories about moon landings, about genocide, about the Holocaust. It's crazy. People come up with.
Yeah.
I want.
So, a couple things I want to say about Dr. Sleep. So yeah, two things. First of all, yeah, Rose the Hat. She is one of those villains you love to hate because when I first saw this movie, every time like one of her crewmates like dies and she like feels the pain, I'm like, yes, fuck you. I'm just so happy whenever she feels pain because she is such a beautifully despicable character, I think is the best way to put it.
Her casting was perfect.
Rebecca
Like,
Ferguson,
literally, it's like-
fantastic.
She isn't like so overly top, absolutely drop dead gorgeous, but
Yeah.
she's like beautiful enough that it's like, oh, and like you said, Santino, when you see her in stuff like Fallout, Rogue Nation, you're just like, this is a great actress, this is a cool character. But then you see scenes where she butchers the baseball boy, and she's just like, are you gonna hurt me? Yes. And he starts screaming, and she does it anyways. It's like, this woman is evil, but it's like, you can't hate her. She's not a villain that you absolutely hate.
I love it when like actors like they deviate from their like usual roles. Like if you ever see Collateral with Tom Cruise, like I watched it recently. Tom Cruise like is Ethan Hunt, like I'm a charismatic spy, and like Collateral he's like this dick bag hitman who wants to like just kill everyone. Like oh shit, it's like nice like change of pace. And I so wanted Rose the Hat like this is a funny story. When I was watching Rise of Skywalker, I was like, can Rose the Hat just come here and stab Palpatine and like just be done with it? I really want this to be done.
Now that would have been a better movie.
Yeah, really would have come out of left field, but what a twist.
So that's it. I mean, like we're done for November. I mean, like Rocky and then Dr. Sleep with Dylan. Dude, Dylan, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. You know,
Thank you for inviting me, man. I could talk about The Shining for hours, man.
Yeah, so like I guess that's it for November, and well, Chad, what are we having for December? What are we having for December?
Well, you know what? I felt like I've overloaded the past 2 months with two of my favorite franchises, Halloween. Then I followed it up with Rocky. So December, I kind of threw it to you, and I was like, what would you like to do to celebrate? Santino, what do you want to talk about to celebrate the holidays? And you actually came up with a pretty cool idea, I thought, to kind of split the month in half a little bit, I'd say. So what's your theme? What'd you call it?
Christmas and crime. So we're doing Wednesdays Christmas movies and the weekends crime movies like Godfather Part 2, Departed, Goodfellas, Irishman, and I can't wait to talk about it. Dylan, Ken, if you want to come on and talk about your favorite crime movies, I'm so happy because I know I know, Dylan, you're a big Scorsese fan, so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll definitely
Yeah.
come on if you guys talk Scarface.
Oh yeah,
We
we
are.
were talking
Yeah.
Scarface.
Definitely. So that'll be our Christmas gift to all our listeners. We're going to be talking on one day of the week. We're going to be discussing wholesome, fun Christmas films, and then on the others, we're going to be talking despicable gangsters and murder.
I love it.
It's going to be great.
I-
Merry Christmas, everyone.
I can't do it, honestly. So that's it, guys. I'm Santino signing off. Thank you for listening. Chad? Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm Ken. Take it easy, everyone.
Dylan, goodbye.
I'm Chad. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good night.